The bells ringing out in St. Peter's Square today, marking the death of Pope Francis. The popular Roman Catholic pontiff has died at 88 years old. And this morning, we are remembering the Pope who made history as the Catholic Church's first Latin American pontiff. Despite his recent health battles, news of his death came as a bit of a shock because of his appearances, a number of appearances over Easter weekend. This is a live look from St. Peter's Square in the Vatican City right now, where you can see crowds have gathered there to mourn. NBC's Claudio Lavanga is there with the details.
The announcement of Pope Francis's death early this morning came as a shock to Catholics around here, but also around the world. Tens of thousands of people were just here in St. Peter's Square only 24 hours ago following the Easter celebrations, and Pope Francis surprised everyone by appearing on that central balcony, St. Peter's Basilica, unannounced, to impart the blessing, to wish everyone happy Easter. He, of course, looked frail, as is done for the past few months, especially also after he left a hospital more than a month ago. But there were some signs that his health was recovering. He was not wearing those oxygen tubes in his nose anymore. He got on that Pope mobile to tour St. Peter's Square among the ecstatic crowd of pilgrims around here, and those were taken as signs that his health were improving. And only a few hours later, the Vatican announced that the Pope was dead. Now, what's going to happen next is, in 2 days, the Pope will lie in state in St. Peter's Basilica, allowing the Catholics and pilgrims and everyone else who appreciated and loved the Pope to pay their last respects. Then in 4 to 6 days, we do expect a funeral for Pope Francis to take place here in St. Peter's Square. And then in 15 to 20 days from now, the conclave will take place. Of course, that is the process through which cardinals will have to elect a new Pope. Shortly after that, on the same day, whenever we'll see white smoke coming out of the Sistine Chapel, the new Pope will appear on the same balcony right there in St. Peter's Basilica, where just 24 hours ago Pope Francis wished everyone happy Easter to announce who the next Pope is going to be. But we're not going to know that before 20 days from now, even longer perhaps. This is Claudio Lavanga for NBC News in the Vatican.
Among the nearly 1.4 billion Catholics grieving the Pope's death are parishioners here in Boston, of course, who convene for Easter Monday Mass. NBC 10's Lauren Melendez joins us live from the Cathedral of the Holy Cross this morning. Lauren, when you spoke with people after service this morning, what did they say? What were they talking about?
I mean, it's a bittersweet day. Of course, there's sad melody because this officially does begin those 9 days of mourning. And yes, while sad, it still allows these parishioners to celebrate the Pope's life. But what they said specifically was this was a celebration that they were not prepared to celebrate so early.
The Almighty God have mercy upon us.
Catholics in Boston believe they had more time with the Holy Father.
It was jarring. I mean, we saw him yesterday for the Easter Mass.
Cari fratelli e sorelle. Buona Pasqua.
But Vatican analysts knew the Pope, known affectionately as quite the maverick, didn't adhere to doctors' orders to rest for at least 2 months after being discharged from the hospital.
One day he was meeting with King Charles and Queen Camilla. The next day he was in St. Peter's Basilica passing out candy to small children. This was a Pope who was determined to just be on the go, to be close to people.
But parishioners like Suzanne don't believe the late pontiff had any regrets in his last days.
I think that God had a hand in it and that he's with God.
And despite his brief defeat of bronchitis and pneumonia and being confined to a wheelchair for 3.5 weeks after leaving the hospital, Catholics see him as a resilient faith leader.
Trying to globally push the world to think about people less fortunate who don't have the support that we all sometimes take for granted.
Also a Pope who veered from tradition, becoming only the third to visit the White House, the first to urge lawmakers to tackle climate change, and issuing the most extensive revision to the church's laws amid the sexual abuse scandal.
There's mixed views on that right now, but he was very open and he was very thoughtful and certainly allowed many folks to come and be heard.
So So what happens next? We're going to repeat this quite a bit throughout the day, but as you just heard from Claudio Lavanga, the NBC News correspondent, the next steps will be a conclave. That'll be the College of Cardinals who convene at the Vatican to essentially have a secret ballot, and they will essentially elect a new pope. In the meantime, again, the millions or billions, I should say, of Catholics worldwide will remain in mourning as they await a new papal leader. Reporting live here outside of the Cathedral of the Holy Cross this morning, I'm Lauren Melendez, NBC 10 Boston.
Lauren, thank you. So let's talk about that, what Lauren just touched on a moment ago, the conclave, because that is what comes next, right? After the Pope's funeral, the College of Cardinals, as they're called, it's essentially the church's most senior members from around the globe, will convene there in the Vatican City, and they will begin what is called a conclave. It is a secretive process. It includes former Boston Archbishop, I should say, Cardinal Sean O'Malley. He will be among the cardinals there. This is video from the conclave in 2013 that was held inside the Sistine Chapel at the Vatican. So they hold a series of votes to elect a successor there, secret ballots. And how do we, the world, find out when a new pope is chosen? Well, it has to do with the smoke that billows from the chimney of the Sistine Chapel. If they vote and no successor is chosen, that smoke billows out will be black. When the smoke turns white, it signifies a new pope has been chosen. Now, we will have much more on the life and legacy of Pope Francis here on air and, of course, online. If you head to NBCBoston.com, you can learn more about the process of picking a new pope and the steps that are already in motion.